What's going up, everybody? It's Genie the Great, back for another art video. So if you watched my 24 watercolor paintings in one day video, you may have seen that I painted 4 pictures of flowers, and I said that I really liked how that turned out and I wanted to explore that a little bit further. So in this video I'm painting 12 botanical watercolor paintings, or 12 paintings of flowers, which is really fun for me because I actually never paint flowers or draw any flowers. So this was kind of new for me, but I just really liked how they turned out in that video. So I thought I would try to make a video with only flowers. So I didn't give myself a time restraint on this. I just kind of painted these whenever I wanted. But yeah, I had a lot of fun. So these are all in my sketchbook, and as you can see, I'm using blue painter's tape to kind of mask off the edges, and this just creates a border, a nice clean border for the finished product. And I really like how that looks, especially in the sketchbook for watercolor, because watercolor can tend to like just go everywhere, and this kind of keeps it contained and makes it look more finished. So I did that on all these paintings here, but not every painting in my sketchbook has a border, but I like the look on the flowers. So I did that. What I did is actually tape everything off and draw everything ahead of time. So I drew all the flowers, like at least just a simple outline for all of these paintings ahead of time, and masked everything off. So then when I was ready to paint, I could just get my paint out, get ready, and paint as many as I'd like at one time. I don't remember. I did have a reference for every single one of these drawings, but I don't recall what most of the flowers are. And I drew from reference, but I didn't paint from reference. So I may have mixed up the colors. They may not be like the correct colors for what kind of flowers they are or anything like that. So yeah, it might not be something you actually find out in nature. I just kind of used whatever colors I wanted to. But I did draw the pictures from reference, so they are like actual real flowers. I just don't know what they are. But I tried to get a bunch of different styles of different flowers and not have too many that look similar. Going back and looking at these, I feel like all the stems and all the leaves I kind of painted really similarly. So maybe I would change that in the future and try to change it up a little bit. For the backgrounds, I think every single one of them I did a wet on wet technique, and which means you put water down on the paper and then you put the paint on the paper, and because it's watercolor it kind of flows out and stuff like that. So I did that. Sometimes it was just a flat wash, other times it was like really blotchy, or I would go in with a paper towel and pick up some of the pigment, and then other times I used a brush to splatter on some dots and different colors like that. So I just kind of wanted to be really loose and not so tight with the backgrounds, and just kind of like let it, I don't know, let it do its thing. Some of these paintings are more, I guess, like refined, and some of them are a bit looser. Like even here, the one on the left is a bit more finished than the one on the right. I just kind of kept it watercolory. But I don't know, I kind of let the paint do its thing, and some of them came out more detailed, I guess, and I put a little bit more like shadows and things like that in it, and other ones I just kind of let it be a little bit more flat. Yeah, so right here you can see I'm going in with the wet on wet technique, and I do apologize, this is going to be quite a long video because there's 12 paintings in here. So I mean, this is about a 20-minute video, and so it's like less than 2 minutes per painting, and it's still quite a long video. But just bear with me if you want to watch the whole thing. Alright, so in this one, I apologize, I put some yellow paint on the paper and it really threw off the white balance on my camera, and I didn't realize that because the way I filmed the speed art videos, the camera is above my head, so I had no clue that the camera was freaking out and the video just turned out really like yellow. But I did speed this up faster than the rest of them. I didn't want to cut out the whole clip altogether because I still wanted you guys to see how I painted these, but they're definitely really yellow, and sorry about that. But this is the only clip that that's like that. This set of paintings right here are the only ones that turned out like that. And at the end of the video I kind of get a close-up of all of the paintings, so you'll be able to see these in their true colors and not with the yellow crap all over it. But yeah, that's the thing about like filming painting and art videos. You like, if something happens to the footage, you can't really go back and refilm it because the painting's already done. But I just wanted to speed this up and still let you guys kind of see the process, even though it's a little bit ruined by the yellow footage. But the one on the left is a poppy and the one on the right is a magnolia, and these I actually did keep like true colors, but I really like the one on the right, and it sucks that the video footage came out all wonky and yellow, because that's actually one of my favorites out of all 12 of them. Well, yeah, but luckily the rest of the footage in the video is fine. There's nothing, no more mishaps. But I did try to put in extra values in the magnolia and really shape the petals and make them have more dimension and stuff like that. So this is one that I put in a little bit more effort on. And like I said, I just kind of picked different colors. I found that like when I was beginning every single one of these, there's always a petal that's like a different color, because I like had ideas of what colors I wanted all the petals and all the flowers to be, but when I started putting it on the paper, I like changed things around. So there's actually a few of these where there's like one petal that's kind of a different, like maybe it's a little bit warmer than all the other ones or a little bit greener than all the other ones. But I kind of like just played around as I was painting to figure out what colors I wanted. So it came out a little bit strange, but I still like them. I think there are a couple of these that I didn't like quite as much, and I think this is actually one of them that I kept pretty simple. And both of these here, I didn't really put too much dimension in either one of them, and I just put a flat color in the background, which these are the only two that I did that. And all the other backgrounds I either splattered a little bit or picked up some of the pigment to give the background a little bit of texture. But these right here, I just put in a flat background, which I'm using a sketchbook that I made myself out of Strathmore 400 series cold pressed 140 pound watercolor paper. And I've expressed before, like, I do not like this paper, and I've tried to get flat washes on this paper and it just doesn't work out because the paper's not that great. But the painting on the right here actually got a very nice flat wash. Like, it turned out very well, and even though it's simple, I really like the way it looked. And I think most of these, if I picked one color for the flower for the background, I either went and did it in blue or some form of blue, or its complement color. Like here for the purple flower, I kind of went in with some yellow in the background, and on the orange flower I went in with some blue, and I just really like the look of that. And I noticed like halfway through this, I tend to pick a lot of blue for the backgrounds, and so a lot of these do have blue backgrounds, but I just like the way it looked. And the palette I'm using, you can see there, I have tons of blue shades, and only like, I have 3 yellow shades, 2 orange, barely 2 red. Really, there's like 1 red and a couple purples, and then a few greens, and just the rest is blue. So I have a lot to choose from. So this, as you can see here, I'm painting the stems and the leaves of these paintings, and like I said, I think the stems of every single one of these paintings kind of turned out the same. So if I were to go back and do this, or in the future, I'll definitely try to change up just the colors I'm using, and try to make some of them more brown or some of them more green or something like that, just to change it up. And some of the sketches I tried to get a little bit more detailed than other ones. Some of them I just, it was like a real quick, almost like an outline of a flower that I just went in real quick. But the one on the right here, I don't know how well you all will be able to see that. From the footage I can see that it's a little bit more detailed. The pencil sketch, I mean, on the right hand side of that daffodil there. But I really like that. So I think if I were to do this again, I think I did like the more detailed pencil sketches. I like how that turned out quite a bit more than the simple ones, just because it was easier for me to get details and dimensions in there, because I am still new to watercolor, so it's hard for me to get really fine detail with only the paint. So having that pencil sketch underneath show through really helped me get some fine details and just make it look a little bit more finished. So I know some people really hate that, like when they sketch with a pencil, they'll try to erase it and just have like a really light drawing underneath their painting. But I like the pencil showing through. I don't think it takes away at all. And even when I'm oil painting, I also like a lot of graphite on the canvas before I start working, because when I go in with the paint actually picks up the graphite, and it gives it, like, without even trying, it gives it a little bit more kind of dimension, because it looks like in those parts where there's a lot of pencil, it looks a little bit more shaded and it gives it more dimension. So, and that's like without even trying, all I'm doing is painting over the sketch, and I already from the beginning get that dimension. So I think it helps me, and I prefer to paint that way, and maybe I'll try something different. And I like when I did the 24 watercolor paintings, there were some of them where I just kept an ink outline and erased all the pencil, or didn't have that much pencil to start with, and I like those, but I find that having the pencil underneath the painting gives me a little bit more dimension. And I tried to, I don't know, on some of these I tried to make the background look like maybe it was just out of focus flowers, so it didn't look like a single flower in the painting, and I don't think any of my paintings really turned out that way. I think they all do look pretty singular, and there's only one flower or a flower and a bud or something in all these paintings, but in a couple of them I did try to make the background look like it was full of a field and use similar colors in the background as what was on the flowers themselves, and I'll keep practicing that. But yeah, like I said, I try to go in with the complements in the back a lot, so on this daffodil here I used some purple in the background. Again, that wet on wet technique. So this one here on the left is a lily, and it's actually a white flower. So it was kind of interesting for me to try to figure out how to paint a white flower, because you don't go in with white paint, like especially watercolor. Like even if you're in oil painting, you wouldn't really paint something white with white paint, because the way we perceive white is by the surrounding colors. So you use the surrounding colors to paint something to make it appear white. But in watercolor, they're so transparent, like you literally cannot use white paint. So I definitely tried to put some like purple shadows and some brown shadows, and I think it worked alright. I don't know if it necessarily looks like a pure white flower, but it definitely looks more white than all the other ones, because I did leave the edges white, and I only went in with that shadow color like in the center of the petals. But I like how that one turned out. Both of these I really do enjoy. These are two of my favorites out of all 12 of them. And I like the muted reds on the right hand side. They kind of turned out more like purpley, pinky kind of reds. But that was probably my favorite part of painting all of these, is mixing the colors and getting more diluted colors and kind of neutralizing a lot of these colors. So the paint palette I'm working with has, I think, 34 colors. I'm not going to go count all those paints right now, but 34, and I think 6 or 7 of them are neutral colors. So the rest of them are pretty vibrant. And there's not a whole lot of like really natural colors, so I do have to dial a lot of these down and make them look a little bit more natural, especially for something like flower or landscape paintings. But that was like my favorite part. I really enjoyed that, and I enjoyed kind of the color theory and the mixing behind that. Since this, I have played a little bit with a limited palette and seeing warm primaries versus cool primaries, because although I do have a pretty strong understanding of color theory and I do have formal education in color theory, I never really learned about cool primaries versus warm primaries. So maybe I'll do a video on that in the future. But yeah, so pretty much there's like cool and warm versions of the primary colors, and they produce different things depending on which ones you're using. So if you want to mix a really bright orange, you would use a warm yellow and a warm red, because a cool red and a cool yellow have blue in it. So that will actually, since blue and orange are complements, the blue would actually neutralize the orange and make it dull. So just things like that. I don't want to go into the full like every secondary color, but I enjoyed playing around with that. But maybe I'll do some paintings only focused on that in the future. But the dimension I'm getting here on the right hand side of that flower, the flower on the right hand side, I really enjoyed it. That was one of them where I didn't really have like a really solid detailed sketch, but I just went in with it and started experimenting as I was painting, and I really like how it turned out. I like the lily as well. I think it's one of the better ones. The background I think is a little bit distracting, but it's not the worst. I just tried to do something different with the background there. And here you can see I'm blotting off some of the paint with the paper towel after I put it onto the background, just to give it a little bit more texture and make it not look so jarring, because I think having that much pigment in the background is a little bit distracting from the subject. So I went in with a paper towel to give it some texture and make it look a little bit more softer. And then again, I'm going in with some splatters on these. Some of them I did the background first, and some of them I did the background afterwards. If I didn't really have like a solid idea of what I wanted the flower to look like, then I would go ahead and do the background first, and that would just give me a little bit better, I don't know, it gave me a basis to go off of for the flower. So that's what I did on these two. I did the background first, and then I did the compliments this time again, where I painted a blue flower with an orange background. But then on the other side of the page, I wanted to reverse that, so I did an orange flower with a blue background. And I like how they look as a pair. Together they look really nice. And so maybe that'll be something that I play around with in the future, is like having a spread, and one side doing two colors and painting something, and then on the opposite side reversing the colors and painting something else, because I think it looks nice together. And I like the way that these look as a pair as opposed to the rest. They're kind of their own individual paintings, whereas these two here, they are like a set of paintings. I think they look really nice together. And on the left hand side, the blue flower, I try to make it a little bit more refined, give it some more detail, some more form. But on the right hand side, the orange flowers, I just kind of like did it really fast, painted the petals really quickly, and just went in. I think only 2 layers on those, so that was definitely, it turned out looking more like a watercolor painting, I think, instead of trying to go for a more perfectionist kind of look. I just really liked how the watercolor looked by itself, so I didn't really mess around with it too much. I didn't get too fussy over that one. Not that any of these paintings look that fabulous, but some of them I really tried to make it look complete and finished. And that orange one on the right hand side, I went in with some light and then went in with some more dark or vibrant and just let it do its thing, and I like the way it looked. Like, again, these two here are 2 of my favorite ones, and I really like how they turned out. I also like that on the right hand side I have more than one flower, because most of these I do just have one flower. So I like that. I don't know, I just like the one on the right hand side. It looks simple, it is simple, it's a watercolor painting, it's not something super finished, but I enjoy how it turned out. And now the inaugural removing of the tape. This is so satisfying. I wanted to include this. Not all the tape, I didn't film myself removing every single one, but just that clean outline after you peel back the tape is like so satisfying to look at. And after I had that blue tape on there for like a couple weeks while I was working on these, so removing all that tape felt really good, and it made everything look really finished. Like that border right there just looks so good. Yep, and here's all the close-ups of all the flowers, just getting a better look. So these are those 2 that turned out kind of yellow, so there you can see their true colors. These are the simple ones with the simple wash in the back on the right hand side that I said I was pretty proud of. But I hope you guys enjoyed. I definitely enjoyed painting all these. Definitely something out of my comfort zone, got me a little bit more familiar with watercolor. So maybe I'll do this with other mediums, or just paint a lot of something with a new medium, because it definitely kind of helped me learn a little bit. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed. I hope you guys go create something, whether that be a painting or a drawing or a sculpture or a video. Whatever you guys do, I think creating things is very important. But I'm going to keep painting, and I'm going to keep creating things too. So I hope you enjoyed, and thanks for watching, guys. See ya.